All right, my friends. Well, hi, hello, and welcome to Trends and Threats when it comes to securing your SaaS data. Now, today's exciting webinar is sponsored by Zerto, a Hewlett-Packard Enterprise company, and Keepit, and produced by Actual Tech Media. My name's Jess Steinbach. I'm with Actual Tech Media, and I am so happy that I get to be your moderator for this conversation because I love exploring these high-level and forward-thinking discussions. I really enjoy talking about trends and what research and analysts are telling us. Especially, we get to zoom out, right? We get to think about that big picture of the cybersecurity landscape, which is always changing, always evolving, and the threats that you need to be considering, especially when we're talking about your all-important SaaS data. Now, together, we are going to get deep into all of this cool stuff with some incredible expert presenters who are here with us today, and we have a fun and interactive conversation planned for you. I can't wait to get started. So I'm going to zip through just a few housekeeping points, and then we will get this show on the road. So let's take a little tour of your audience console here. To start out, I want to draw your attention over to the questions window. So the questions window is the best place to get involved, to get interactive, to start connecting with each other and also with our incredible speakers that we have here with us today. And again, this is the best part of these types of webinars, is getting to talk to experts about what they're excited about, what they're passionate about, what they're seeing, and what you should have in your mind as well. So all those little burning questions or thoughts you've had rolling around, make sure you get those out today. And we will definitely be getting into some Q&A once we go through our discussion, and we will have a great time with all of you. So please do get those questions in. Now, another thing that you can do just to give it a little test run, if you haven't already done so, is say hi, say hello. Let us know how you're doing today. We want to hear from you. I see Martin, I see Morteza. Hey, Lily and Linda. We've got Jim here, Jorge, Daniel, Doug. Hey, Corey from Wisconsin. I love it. Roll on, Wisconsin, Corey. Happy to see all of you here with us today. Hope that you'll get involved as we go throughout our day today. So keep those questions coming in. All right, one last reminder about that questions window. That is the best place to reach out to our crew if you're having any tech issues. So if the tech gremlins get a hold of you today, no problem. The first thing you're going to try is a browser refresh. That is going to clear out most of the usual issues that might come up with a slide or audio, something like that. If that browser refresh is not working for you, no problem. Post a message in the questions window and our team will be there to help you out. All right, now we've covered the questions window. Let's go one tab over and we're going to take a look at your handouts tab. Make sure you spend some time exploring those handouts. There are lots of great takeaways, really cool resources, things you are going to want to have after we wrap up this conversation, because your brain is just going to be all lit up and buzzing with cool information, and you will want those resources to follow up. Now, if all of that cool content was not enough to get you excited about what's ahead, how about this? We also have a $250 Amazon gift card as a prize drawing that we will be giving away at the end of our webinar. Now, you do need to be here live and present and, hey, a little bit lucky at our webinar today. And all winners do need to meet our Actual Tech Media prize terms and conditions. If you're not sure what those T's and C's are, we have the full things linked for you in the handouts tab. So just head on over, click in, scroll down, and you will find those waiting for you there. Okay, we have one more cool prize I got to tell you about before we get into our show today. We do have a best question gift card. So not only does asking a question mean that you are a super awesome participatory human and you get a nice shiny gold star from me, you also get entered to win the best question asked. So we review all of the questions asked during the webinar after we wrap, and then we will follow up with that best question winner. So get those questions in. We want to hear from you today. Be sure that you are posting in that questions window as we go through. All right, well, that is everything. That's all the housekeeping, which means it is time to get this show on the road. And boy, do we have a cool conversation ahead. I am so excited to introduce you all to our expert presenters here with us today. And that's Rick Sloane, Strategic Partner Director at Keepit, and Anthony Dutra, Technical Marketing Engineer at Zerto. Now, this dynamic duo is here in the wings, so just give me 1 second and I will get them on out here with me. All right. Well, Rick, Anthony, thank you guys so much for joining us today. I am so pumped to get into this conversation, mostly because, hey, any conversation with you guys is always a great time, but also because I love when we get to have these types of webinars. You know, the slides are always fun. You guys always provide wonderful slides, no knocking the slides. However, it is so exciting to get to put those aside and jump into the conversation and really just spend a little time talking with you two, hearing what you're excited about. And I think the audience is really pumped to come along on that journey today. So Rick, I'm wondering if I can ask you to kick us off with that. What are you excited to be here and talking about today?
Absolutely. Jess, thank you so much, Anthony. Look forward to spending the next hour with you here as well. And so, what I want to set the stage with everybody out in the audience is what we talk about is for you to understand the why this is important, what's happening in the market, what are the trends with SaaS applications, and kind of what Wayne Gretzky has said before, and I quote, skate to where the puck is going, not to where it's been. That's going to help you understand the why of the technology where we're headed. So, Jess, hopefully that helps open it, and back to you.
Yes, I love it. Rick, as a Canadian, I very much appreciate that reference. Thank you for making me feel culturally seen and heard in this webinar. And I think that's a great place to start us out, because what we're talking about today is trends. And what are we talking about with trends? We're talking about where the puck is going, right? That's right. Looking ahead, looking down the ice. So playing along with our little hockey metaphor today, Rick, I'm going to pass the puck back on over to you. What are the trends that you are noticing? What are you seeing, especially when we're talking about SaaS solutions?
Absolutely. So we've been talking for the last couple of decades on cloud technologies and the transformation of multi-cloud to cloud native, the modernization, and where digital sovereignty is going to. Where we're heading to now that we're all hearing about is AI and machine learning. And it's kind of the next chapters of the cloud. And where that ties in is all the different SaaS applications that are out there. And they're not shrinking, they're only growing in the market. And even Gartner predicts that by 2028, 75% of enterprise applications will be consumed in SaaS. And so as you start to look at what you're doing on your networks within your company's organization, how do you prepare? That's understanding the why. That's kind of following where the puck is heading towards, and what can you do to prepare to make sure that your staff, your environment is well prepared for the continued evolution of where SaaS applications are going to.
Anthony, anything you want to say before I move things along here?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's really great points, Rick. And I think what Rick touched on is just the fact that SaaS applications are just growing in adoption overall, right? You heard him say by 2028, 75% of enterprises will be using SaaS apps. Think about every single app that you use in your business today and what is SaaS based. I know my mom is not a technical person, but I can have this conversation with her because she uses Microsoft Outlook when she goes to work. She generates a report from Salesforce. The concept of, hey, we're using these tools in our day-to-day is what is very common amongst basically everybody. And that's why it's kind of so important to be looking at the adoption of this technology, because you got to protect it.
I think that's a really important point, and that sort of democratization of technology is coming out of the accessibility side of it. We are, anyone is able to use these applications, and when we're looking at an organizational level, Anthony, you're absolutely right. There are more and more applications that we're using, and I think for some in the audience, maybe more than they can even count if they started trying to do that mental list. And there's really critical, workloads and critical data on these applications. So, of course, at some point we have to start thinking about backup, whether it's considering threat actors or just, hey, good preparation, right? So I want to talk a little bit about backing up SaaS. And Anthony, I'm going to leave things with you. I'm wondering if maybe you can expand a bit on some of the key areas that you've seen that organizations are investing in, putting in their time, their money, their resources when they're thinking about backing up their SaaS applications.
Yeah, so I think from the offset, what they're thinking about is the protection of their most important data itself, right? They want to be sure that when they are backing up their information, it is going to be easily retrievable. They want to know that it is going to be secured and in multiple places, maybe at once with multiple copies. There's a lot of many different things to look for when you're considering sort of SaaS backup. And I think those are just a few in general. But Rick, you kind of know a little bit more about this.
Yeah, no, I think the other areas that it's interesting is with all technologies as they continue to evolve, there's new players that enter the market that really talk the talk, speak the language, and build products based on the evolution of where we're going to. And not to say that legacy organizations that have been in the market, maybe in this case, more on-prem type backups, but how they're working and how they're connecting into the cloud and being able to have easy to use, built for the cloud as, a SaaS vendor.
All right. Well, Rick, I think what we just heard from you and Anthony are some great reasons to be thinking about backing up SaaS applications. And obviously that hopefully is top of mind. Hopefully that's something that everyone out there is already considering. But for anyone that maybe hasn't, and we all know sometimes it's hard to take that look ahead, whether it's scary or it's overwhelming or you're just so focused on the day to day. So if somebody needs a little extra motivation to be thinking ahead, let's talk finance. What are the financial impacts of a ransomware attack?
Yeah, so it's interesting on the financial aspect of it. Typically, what bad actors may do from the outside, find a weak link, go attack the production servers. From the production servers, they go to the backup servers. If you can protect your backups from being able to be in an immutable format, you're no longer having to hire your negotiator. And the way the negotiations typically work in ransomware attacks is these bad actors are very sophisticated. They'll do their due diligence on companies. They'll see what kind of revenue streams there are. And the ransom typically is about 1% to 2% of the company's revenues. From those revenues, on average, ransomware payments are about $750,000. But that's only part of it. The other part that organizations don't always take into account is your downtime, your people time, the actual cost itself. That sometimes can escalate 5 to 10 times more. So the average cost to rectify an impact could be in a $4.5 million range. And then you take into the risks that on average, only about 60% of the data ever gets restored. So where is the other 40%? So now you're paying all this money to get your company back up and operational, but you're putting your customers at risk, your employees at risk, and all of the data.
Yeah, I think really what you touched on that I really, really liked what you said is it's not just the price that you pay the ransom or the price to pay to come back online, but it's everything that happens after with the integrity of your brand, the integrity of if you're the guy running the IT environment, your job, everything that you now have to defend yourself against. It's not just that ransomware attack. It's your boss's boss, all your customers that you didn't successfully that are now worried about their exposed data. There's a lot of different layers to it outside of just the financial impact that might be, from the data loss itself. There's a human cost to it as well.
All right, Rick, I want to go back to something that you were saying in your answer just a second ago. You were talking about the data actually not always being restored. So I'd like to ask you to clarify that just a little bit. Are we saying that in a situation where an organization actually pays the ransom, that their data may not be fully restored?
It's very possible. And so what you have to understand is you're dealing with bad actors. They're criminals wherever they're located around the world. And so you're taking a chance by making a ransomware payment. And on average, across all the different verticals, it's only a little over 60% on average of the actual data that gets restored.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a little shocking. The other piece of it is about 2/3 of the companies that get attacked are sub 1,000 seats. They're that small, medium business arena. The large enterprise still gets the attacks. They have a lot more funds to be able to buy more proactive equipment as well as their backups. And so making sure that they're safe and recoverable obviously is important because how do you run your business if you end up not getting 40% of your data back?
Oof. Yeah, and especially for a company that is in that medium range, and I can just picture that being really life-threatening to a lot of organizations. And I am going to keep us in the scary fear zone for just one more question, and then hopefully we're going to start moving to some more solutions and some happy phases of this conversation. But Anthony, I want to ask you about another trend that I've heard that it scares me a little bit as well. Because as we're talking about ransomware attacks, I think our sort of general understanding of that is that that's external attacks. That's
Yep.
external threat actors. And I'm wondering, I've heard that the biggest threat to our data is not always an external attack. And I'd like to ask you to kind of expand that a little bit and talk to us about what you see the biggest threats to data are.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, it's true. A lot.
No, Anthony.
No, I know, but a lot of the baddest things do come from on the inside, right? We always think we're always attacked by something that is malicious and is going to come from doesn't understand us. A lot
Yeah.
of the times, it's from something that is more internal. So what we tend to see is obviously we're getting to the point of these more sort of internal attacks do happen quite frequently. About half the time, 25%, they are like malicious sort of actions. So you got that disgruntled employee who got fired and now still has access to some of the files. Well, they decided to BQ and delete a whole bunch of them. What do you do in that point? Not only do you have to remove their access, but now you have to recover those files and bring them back online. And then there's kind of the other side of that coin as well. It's just human error, right? The intern overwrote a whole bunch of files, maybe deleted some things. They didn't know what they were doing. They didn't mean to do it, but it still cost data loss and downtime to the organization, and that's going to still impact your bottom dollar. You may have a fired intern, but you still need to get that data back online. And really, both human error stories resonate when it comes to kind of thinking about our internal threats overall.
That's such a good point and a reminder that it is not even always threat actors that we're thinking about. That sometimes it's just, I mean, the internal and malicious action. Sure, I think that's something that's certainly worth considering. But just human error, I mean, who can't relate to that feeling of, oh my God, what did I just do? And then if you're lucky, everything's back up. Now I'm telling you what my last Tuesday was like, but it's just like everybody has that fear moment, and so making it as sort of, not to call anyone in anyone's organization an idiot, but making things as idiot proof as we can all possibly make it,
Right.
because we all have idiot moments, right? We may not. Rick, here's what I'm going to ask. We've covered some really good threats. We've covered some really good reasons to be aware and to really take this seriously, and that's all awesome. And now I want to step away from the bad news and I want to get into the good news. I want to talk about solutions. So, Rick, I would like to know from you. We have tons of solutions. That's our solution dance. We have tons of solutions available out there. What are the most important things that our audience should be taking into consideration as they're going through and filtering through all of the research that they're doing to help select the best SaaS backup solution for them?
Yeah, no, great question, Jess, and a great lead in as well. Customers really need to understand what's important to them, to their environment, the data governance, infrastructure. Are they moving into AI? Cost is an important piece of it. Do you need to build a platform and pay hardware or VMs to build it out? Or do you really keep it simplified and just have a simple way of pricing it out? And what about TCO? Is there a total cost of benefit, a total cost of ownership benefit that comes back with an ROI with some of the solutions that you see out there? And then really determining the risk. Is it okay? And what happens? And you have to ask yourselves, what happens if we choose to do nothing because the budget wasn't there, or the environment wasn't there, or I don't have enough IT people on staff? And so when you're selecting the right vendor as your partner, selecting the right vendor and having the key elements is the simplistic side of having a sophisticated technology that can help protect what you need to protect in your data, but also be able to have it affordable with what you're looking to do and your size of your IT staff, your ability of being able to implement without having to onboard a whole team of people to really understand how do I build it.
That's such a good point that you can have the best, shiniest, coolest tool in the entire world, but if it doesn't work for your team, it doesn't make sense for your organization. Then what's the point? For some reason, I just had a flash image of like the fanciest sports car in the world collecting dust in a garage, And so what we're trying to do is create the sports car that everyone's going to drive, the sports car that you all want to drive, which brings us to Zerto. So, Anthony, we've talked about the trends. We've talked about the impact and what a good SaaS backup, the sports car of SaaS backup solutions can look like. So you get to pick your metaphors. You can talk about hockey. You can talk about sports car. We're giving you a wide range here. But I want to dig into the Zerto Backup for SaaS offering. Anthony, what do you got?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So to say that it is I'm not going to say a car brand because I might start too many debates. It is the sports car. Yes, it is the sports car of your backup, SaaS backup overall. What is so great about Zerto Backup for SaaS powered by Keepit is that this is an independent solution. So it's not tied to like a third party cloud like a Microsoft Azure or AWS. You are sort of controlling the backups of your SaaS solutions. So that's everything from like Azure Active Directory, Google Workspace, Salesforce, Zendesk, in an immutable, secure format that is very much hands off to a lot of what you have to do as a backup administrator and IT administrator. What it allows for is for you to focus on recovering your full business environment and not so much just worrying about the full just data recovery coming back online. With Zerto Backup for SaaS, you have this sort of multi-region data sovereignty, so you know that the multiple copies that we do have stored of this information is in a secure multiple locations, so that redundancy is there in case something fails. It's immutable and it's there for you to access when you need it. I know I kind of just touched on very, very high level things there, but Rick, anything that you think I missed?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think you touched upon a lot of high level stuff, and it's great. The immutable format is really important. What I find really interesting in the market is we all came from on-prem. And so all your backups, all your SaaS, whether it was SaaS, whether it was, storage itself, there was a rule for on-prem, the 3-2-1 rule. Anthony, are you familiar with this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so you have 3 copies, 2 different locations, at least one being off-site.
Yep.
So why is it in the SaaS world are customers saying it's okay to just have one copy sitting in a public cloud? And in that public cloud, you're subjected to possible ingress and egress charges that you're already paying on your production network.
Right.
And so having this independent cloud, fully safe, fully secure. What's great also, I think, about the Zerto SaaS for backup that's powered by Keepit is your 4 copies. And so suddenly you had these on-prem rules of 3-2-1, and here you actually have 2 different data centers in each geography to help with data sovereignty. They're both active, and each one of those data centers, there's then a second copy. And so you get 4 copies in 2 different locations, obviously being off-site. So it actually overachieves the on-prem. And this kind of ties back a little bit to what Jess and we were all talking about at the beginning of this conversation, which is your ability to have an independent cloud from a SaaS vendor that was built in the cloud for the cloud, as opposed to having to take something that was all hardware based that had to then scale and adopt into cloud technology.
Rick, I think what you've just done for us is laid out some really key standout features that we're seeing from Zerto Backup for SaaS. And we always get a lot of questions, and I've seen a few coming in today. You were talking earlier actually about how we choose the best backup solution for us, and the audience is wondering, when they're laying that out and they're making that choice for the best backup sports car for them, what would you want them to know are those key unique features from Zerto, from Keepit?
A couple of the key areas is understanding an independent cloud from an organization that owns the stack. And so we'll leverage Equinix for our data center infrastructure, but we own the stack. That also means there's no sub-processors. And that's a big important question from organizations that have a very strong security posture, is understanding how that is. The other piece is predictive pricing. If you can have predictable pricing, you can have a budget that will be able to carry you year over year. A lot of organizations, when they may have a user leave their organization, they then have to pay a discounted price for that departed user if they want to keep any part of the data. So with the Zerto Backup for SaaS, you actually can have turn in your organization, continue to store that departed user's data for free for as long as you as the customer has retained the retention, then being able to reuse that license with a new hire. The other huge benefit that comes out of it is we've had customers actually say to us, they've been able to sunset that departed user's Microsoft 365 license immediately because they already have all the data stored. So if their supervisor or another employee needs access to a departed user's files, they're all sitting there in the retention, all stored for free. And so having predictive pricing, not having to buy more storage, not having to pay egress charges, to a public cloud for your backup, are really key key elements of when choosing the Zerto Backup for SaaS.
Well, yeah, some great key features there and standout options. And I think you've given us, I'm going over, we've covered a lot today. We've covered hockey and sports cars stars. We've covered the key trends that are coming at us. We've covered the reasons we need to pay attention, why this matters to us. That was a big thing where you started with us, Rick, was the why this matters, and why we care. We've covered what are the important features to be considering and thinking about when we're choosing the right backup for SaaS in our organizations, and then why Zerto is a great fit for that. And you've given us some really awesome kind of key standout points. And what I want to do is just really quickly connect back into where we started, which was with the trends. And so you each gave us some trends that we're seeing, and I want to talk about how Zerto fits into that picture, how Zerto fits that forward thinking, that looking ahead to where the puck is going kind of thought process. So Anthony, maybe you can kick us off and walk us through that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the main trend that I shared and identified in the beginning is just the growing SaaS workloads that we have within our environments today. I think like a lot of the statistics out there, small and medium businesses use about 80 different SaaS solutions, larger like in the thousands. So we have these many different SaaS products that we have very important business data within, helps run our organization, generate revenue, all that good stuff. And it needs to be protected and backed up in some format. I think with everything that you pretty much heard Rick say, from the cost effectiveness of it being its own independent cloud, no egress or ingress fees, the predictable pricing, the fact that you can have these 4 immutable copies in these multiple spots. There's a lot of good stuff that sort of helps compile. It makes your job easier as the person who might be responsible for backing up all those 80 some odd applications itself. And then it gives you, again, that defense of, in case something does happen, well, the CEO and the customers aren't going to be mad at you because you were prepared, and you were prepared at a pretty low cost in doing so. So with this technology, with this solution, I think it's honestly a no-brainer, especially as we see just, again, my mom uses a SaaS solution every single day with Outlook. So it's relevant to that level of consumer.
I love that. That's the bar we're looking at. Anthony's
Right.
mom. You're our technology bar.
If she can understand that, she can understand anything. Yeah.
I love it. Rick, what do you think? How are we meeting the trends that you outlined for us?
Yeah, no, great question. And, kind of like Anthony says, it's the market's continuing to evolve, and so are we. Today, we have one of the richest breadth of SaaS application support in the market. Under the Microsoft suite itself, there's Azure Active Directory, Microsoft 365, Dynamics 365, Azure DevOps, Power BI, in addition to Salesforce, Zendesk, Google Workspace. So and the breadth is going to continue. Our development work that we're doing right now is more of a platform based enhancement. So you're going to see a lot more SaaS applications and support coming out as time goes on. One of the key areas that we really didn't talk about yet today, but is extremely important, and we're helping educate the marketplace, is around Entra ID. And so Entra IDs is really what these bad actors are going after. That's a company's crown jewels. You and I, Anthony, any of us have access to our company's network. We have an ID and a password. And the IT person, IT analyst, issues all new employees these ID and passwords. And you now have the Entra ID, what used to be known as Azure Active Directory. And this ID gives us the rights of where you're allowed to go, what applications you can see, your conditional access policies, BitLocker keys. If these are stolen or compromised, the company can't function. Nobody can get to their data. So also having an immutable version of multiple copies of everybody's identities within an organization becomes talking more about the control plane, not just the data plane where all the data resides. And so your ability to really protect all your users' IDs, what access policies they have, is really becoming a strong arena in the marketplace that organizations are realizing they need to make sure these are protected and backed up from any type of a ransomware attack.
Well, and certainly that sort of robust security planning and strategic thinking also gives us an opportunity to have some peace of mind. And I think, Anthony, you hit on that with knowing that our CEO, down to our client or our next door neighbor in our, not theoretically not in life, but your next door neighbor in the office. Hopefully your neighbor's not mad at you every time you mess up something at work, but I don't,
Right.
but this is, I think it is a lot about sort of setting us up for that peace of mind. It's making sure that we're planning ahead for things so that we don't, have to have that no good, terrible, very bad day that is possibly looming in the future. And I'd like to transition a little bit there from this part of the conversation to bringing the audience into the conversation, because we've gotten a lot of great questions from the audience. And I think there's a great opportunity here to kind of bring this, conversation out to them and what's really impacting them. So I'm going to ask you guys a few questions coming from the audience. We are a little short on time, so I won't have time to get to all of them, but I'm going to get to as many as I can, and then we'll get on. We'll send everyone else out about their days to do some research at home, because there is lots more to learn here. I want to start with this one here. Does the platform support Salesforce?
Yeah, I'll jump in on that one first. Absolutely. And one of the greatest things of not only does it support Salesforce, but most organizations that have Salesforce are usually going to have either Google Workspace or Microsoft 365 for their email. They're going to also have, as I just mentioned a few minutes ago, Entra ID for everybody to have IDs, and then maybe an app registration or enterprise app registration getting into the Salesforce applications. And so one of the neat thing about this technology and going to market is being able to have a single dashboard with a lot of different SaaS applications to be able to support. Each are sold separately based on what the customer has in their environment. But if you're looking for a very cost-effective way of backing up your Salesforce and having multiple copies for recovering, the Zerto Backup for SaaS Powered by Keepit absolutely supports the Salesforce application as well.
Fantastic. Okay, well, definitely, I think there'll be some happy people to hear that. It's always great when the answer is yes, we got you. We got you. That's covered. Okay, another great question coming in from our audience here is about the next steps. So we got a few questions wondering about, things like demos and getting a little bit of additional information. So what's the easiest way? What's the easy button to answer all these questions? How should they get more information for a Zerto SaaS product?
I would say
Anthony, do you want to comment?
Zerto.com. What would you say there? Rick? Yeah, I was going to say
Yeah.
Zerto.com. Definitely your best place to go right off the bat. Zerto.com backup for SaaS. We have a lot of good content up there from like a data sheet. We go into a little bit more detail about the solution itself. And then I think if you search kind of hard too, right, there's some demos available.
Yeah, if they want to do a trial or a demo, or just click on more information, and one of the inside sales reps will reach out to them.
Perfect. Several easy buttons, not just one easy button, like
Right.
all the easy buttons. You have a plethora of easy buttons in front of you. I'm going to sneak in one more question because we got a couple of questions coming in, about different international setups. And I think that comes into play more and more these days. So question here coming in from the audience. We have international offices. So are you able to comply with GDPR?
Absolutely. Right,
Yeah.
Rick?
Yeah, so actually our corporate headquarters are out of Copenhagen, Denmark. So GDPR is second nature to us. We comply with all of the rules, the regulations, and the requirements that are needed, along with the ISA 3402, which is SOC 2 compliancing, ISO 27001, et cetera. But GDPR for data sovereignty, we have data centers throughout the globe. In every geo or every region, there's always 2 data centers. That's what we had mentioned earlier. It gives active, and then a second copy in each. And so data sovereignty is extremely important. And again, we have those data centers throughout the globe, but helping support the GDPR cause as well.
Absolutely. You put a big fat check box next to compliance.
Yes.
Checked right off.
Exactly.
I love that. I'm just
another easy button.
Yes, it's easy. Yes, exactly. All the easy buttons. We got it. We nailed it. Amazing. Very happy to hear all of that. Well, okay. We've got a few more questions. Unfortunately, I think we are going to have to leave those questions for another time because we're going to have to keep things kind of moving along and bringing it to a close, which is always the worst part of any of these conversations. And I wish we could keep going with this, but I'm going to Minnesota goodbye you a little bit. I'm going to say that we're leaving and then I'm going to throw another question at you. What I'm wondering is when we think back over this wonderful time that we've had together, this deep, impactful, meaningful time that we've all shared here together, and the audience is reflecting back on this wonderful conversation that we've had, I'm curious what you would each like them to be thinking about, sort of the top, anywhere from 1 to 3 kind of top key, amazing takeaways that you would like them to either be mulling over this evening, afternoon, morning, depending on where they are at in the world, or taking action on. And maybe Anthony, I can ask you to kick us off, and then Rick can bring us on home.
Yes, awesome. If you are on this webinar and you kind of are trying to, get some key takeaways, then your job is most likely being sure that you have data integrity within your organization. You're probably responsible for a lot of this. I would ask you to take a look at what your time is worth. What is vacation time worth to you? And if you are, I wouldn't even worry so much about, obviously worry about ransomware attacks, worry about that outside stuff, but worry about what, if something does happen, what is the price on that peace of mind? And I think that this solution provides that, throughout. And really just think about what your time is worth and what it would be worth to back it up.
What is your time worth and what would it be worth to back it up is the absolute key takeaway. I have no idea how to answer that for myself. I have to go sit down and think about what my time is worth. At least one solid backup round. Rick, what do you got? What's your time worth, Rick?
Yeah. It's an easy button. So set it and forget it. Kind of like what Anthony is saying. If you're looking for a backup and recovery, and really the secret sauce is in the recovery, and it's important. See the demo, try it, click on the trial, and be able to really understand the why and why this platform can be important to you and the features and the benefits of making it a simple and easy environment. that's safe and secure.
That's why I love Keepit. The thing is literally keep it simple. That
Keep
is
it
what
simple,
Keepit means.
keep it
So
safe.
It's beautiful. Oh, chef's kiss.
I love it. It's like Progresso.
I love that.
It's in there.
That was amazing. Yeah, that was not only was that a solid like little Lord of the Rings homage there, Rick. That was like that was also I love when you guys get excited about your marketing, like when the marketing is that good. Like that's so wonderful. Like
Yeah.
it really is. We're genuinely this excited about keeping it simple.
I know.
Right.
Okay, well, awesome. I think that's a fantastic place to leave it on, and just a really fun and informative conversation here today, guys. I think we've definitely fired up the audience. You've given them a lot of great places to kind of jump in and get started. Hit the website. That's the next kind of main step.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hit the website, check out some demos, and reach out.
Perfect. Yes. Website, demos. Obviously, everyone wants to hang out with Rick and Anthony a little bit more. I know I do. So I know that you will get lots of uptake on that. And I want to thank you both for being here with us today. I have had a blast and I've learned a ton.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, I'm Rick Sloane. Appreciate your time. Anthony, Jess, thank you for the time as well. And everybody in the audience, appreciate you listening, and let us know if there's anything else we can do to help you.
Oh, well, we definitely will, Rick and Anthony. And what a great day. I am still just buzzing and smiling from that conversation. I hope you all are as well. Some great vibes and great information today. All right. Well, speaking of great information, I do want to remind you all about the Handouts tab. If you haven't spent a little time exploring the Handouts tab, please do so now. Warren, I see you. Warren says, I like easy and simple. Me too, my friend. Easy and simple is where it's at. And Doug is going to go watch the Lord of the Rings extended edition marathon. Yes, this is the way. Now I'm just mixing genres everywhere, but this is the way, Doug. All right. Well, I hope you enjoy that. And Jeffrey would like a Master of Disaster crown as well. Anthony got a lot of high fives on that t-shirt today. I am with you on that one. I love that. I thought Anthony had some Kylo Ren vibes with that shirt too. That was really great. I enjoyed that a lot. All right. Well, just an absolute amazing time. Good vibes from all of you. I'm loving this. We're all just nerding out now on the chat. Okay, stop. You're all being distracting. I have to close the webinar now. No, you keep it up. I will remind you all to go over and visit the Handouts tab, because there are two great things that I want to make sure that you spend some time exploring. One is the Resource Center from Zerto for Backup for SaaS Powered by Keepit. This is such a great follow-up. There are so many cool little, it's like an Easter egg treasure trove of more resources and things to explore. So go click on that link and then follow all the rabbit holes and spend all the time exploring. The second thing I want you to do is make sure you get that data sheet on Zerto Backup for SaaS, again, powered by Keepit, and really explore that dedicated SaaS data protection. This is a fantastic takeaway. It's very short, easy to read. So this is something that is going to make it easy for you to bring to your team and let your team know about all the cool stuff that you just heard today from Anthony and Rick, and make sure that you get to spend a little time sharing that with the folks on your team. So grab those handouts. Make sure you do that now. Speaking of Grogu approves, Doug, that's a Grogu approved move, is getting all those handouts. That is your next step right now. Grab it. Make sure you've got them before you head out. All right. So we are going to do a $250 Amazon prize giveaway, and that is going to someone who is here live and present at the webinar. And as always, a little bit lucky. So our special lucky winner today of a $250 Amazon gift card is Jeffrey Shabek. Chubbuck from Ohio. Jeffrey, apologies for mispronouncing your name, as I'm sure I just did, but hey, I'll make up for it by giving you a $250 Amazon gift card. Jeffrey Chubbuck of Ohio, congratulations. We will follow up when we have wrapped our webinar. Now, don't forget, we also have that best question gift card coming at you from our session today. So we will be looking at all of the questions asked, and there were some really great ones. So congrats and high fives to everyone out there. And we will follow up once we've wrapped up our webinar and let you know if you've won that prize. All right. Well, what a day. With that, on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, I want to once again thank Zerto, a Hewlett-Packard Enterprise company, and Keepit for making this webinar possible, and especially to Anthony and to Rick for coming on, for engaging in such a fun and interactive conversation. I love when we just get to explore the rabbit holes, right? Hear what our speakers are excited about, hear what's on their minds, what's kind of getting them interested and excited, and what we're seeing coming at us as we look ahead through the next months and years. And it's always changing. So we check in and we check in and we check in. And these conversations become so important, because I don't know about you all, but there's a lot of information out there. And when you start researching, it can feel a bit overwhelming. So sometimes just sitting down and letting the information flow into your brain in a fun and bright way is just a much more enjoyable experience. So that brings me around to all of you. I want to thank all of you here with us today for joining in, for being a part of this conversation, for bringing the energy and the questions, and all of the fun, nerdy references that we had going at the end. Yes, love our crew, love our community here with us today. So thank you to all of you for being a part of our community, being a part of this discussion today. I hope that we'll get to see you again soon. We've got lots of cool webinars coming up. In fact, we've got another HPE webinar on Friday, I think is the next one. So come back and join us for one on Friday, and keep signing up, keep learning. There's always more to discuss here, right? All right, well, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and until our next webinar, enjoy.